Okay, before we wrap up, I've got six bold calls for the 2025 AFL season. Starting off with the Dockers, and I think that Fremantle will not lose a single game at Optus Stadium in 2025. I'm not sure if I spoke about in the latter prediction that I think they have to make Optus Stadium a fortress, but I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. They have to make it the toughest ground to play at in the country for them to be able to compete to the levels I have them competing. The big tough games here are the first one in round two against the Swans. And then they play a few big teams there. The Lions, the Blues, the Pies, and the Hawks are probably the four main ones. It's not going to be easy. They're probably not going to win all those games. That's why it's a bold call. But if they want to compete, as I said, they need to make that place a fortress. And it would be a huge statement to dispatch of all those teams at Optus Stadium in 2025. So that's my first bold call. Number two, Richmond will lose two games in 2025 by 150 points or more. I was going to go with one game by 150 or more, but it felt a little bit bland because we saw Sydney do it against West Coast 2 years ago. So we know it's kind of possible in the current climate. But I just think that the position that Richmond are in, the young players, the complete reset that they've undergone, two games losing by 150 would be something. I'd actually be pretty confident that they might lose one by 150. Two would be something. Two would be crazy. So yeah, have that one. That's one of my bold calls. Number three, we spoke a little bit about Hawthorn before and their slow start to the season last year and how difficult their start to the season this year could be with the fixture they have. My bold prediction is Hawthorn go 1-5 in their first six games. Now, Sydney in opening round. Essendon in the first round, which I think is the win out of those six games. Carlton, GWS in Tassie, and they're good there, but the way I've spoken about GWS, I think GWS have the ability to get that done. Port Adelaide in the last game of Gather Round, and then Geelong on Easter Monday. Those are the six games. So I think they get the Bombers. And after that, after those six games, they have the Eagles and the Tigers at home, and they probably go ham. But those first six are massive. And I have them losing five of them, and that feeds into my prediction that they're going to miss the eight. But if they win three of them, definitely four. If they win four, then they're in for a big year. If they win three of them, I think it's enough to have enough, what's the word? Momentum is the word, to take it into the second half of the year and really give it a crack and probably finish in the top eight. But I don't think they're going to do it. I think they'll go 1-5 in that first six of the year. Number four, Carlton's backline will once again rank top four for points against in 2025. Now, Carlton's defense, as I said before, let itself down pretty big time last year. I think it was a massive reason for where we found ourselves and how the year finished. 2022, they ranked sixth in the competition for points against, despite missing finals. Finished ninth, ranked sixth for points against. 2023, they ranked fourth, made a prelim. So pretty indicative, I think, that when it's hard for teams to score against you, you're going to finish in a pretty good position. And that season there is probably the biggest evidence. 2024, they ranked 14th for points against, so pretty dreadful in the grand scheme of things when you're a final side. Essendon, West Coast, Richmond, and North were the only teams that were worse. And I think that's a huge reason for why things fell apart last year. They need to jump back up in that category if they want to compete. Pretty simple. I like the moves we've made back there. Haynes looks great. Jack Silvani looks really good in that positional move. Wiedering has been fantastic as always. And you got Cow and McGovern, Sard and Hollands with their rebounding. The personnel is there for me. So yeah, there needs to be massive improvement on that line. And I think there will be. So I think they'll rank top four again for points against. And that'll kind of coincide with the jump back into the top four that I've predicted. Number five, Nate Caddy and Isaac Kako will combine for 50 goals in 2025. Is it bold? Perhaps not. Tell me if this one's bold. I think it's bold. But I mean, they're essentially averaging a goal a game each, 25 each, around about. Caddy had 9 in 10 games last year, so he'd need to hop just above that goal a game mark. And then Kako as well. I mean, yeah, why can't they? Why can't they? Kako looked outstanding in preseason. Should be kicking a lot of goals for them in the future, but for him to kick a goal a game this year isn't out of the question. And then Caddy, I think, is going to improve a lot. So, yeah, big future for those two gentlemen, and I've got them combining for 50 in 2025. Maybe I should have gone more. Let me know. And finally, number six, a bit of a different one. A team outside of the top eight will have three All Australian players. I don't know if this has actually happened before. It might have happened. I don't know if it's happened in recent history, but I'm looking at teams like, so the teams I have outside the eight, Port Adelaide having a Rosie, a Butters, and a Horn Francis, or someone random in there that performs well. I think they had three last year. I'm looking at perhaps a North Melbourne having had Sheasel and Jerry in the extended squad last year, having a third pop up and all be good enough to make the squad in their improvement. I'm looking at a team like Melbourne having Clary and Petrarca and whoever else. There are teams in this section that have really good players. I'm looking at like an Adelaide Crows having a Rankin, Dawson, and one other. So there are opportunities for this to happen. I don't know how bold this actually is. Probably should have done the research on that before I threw it out as a bold call, but we'll run with it. And if it's not bold, tell me. But yeah, a team outside the top eight will have three All Australian players in 2025.